Hello everyone, good evening. We hope you guys are all well. Nice to see you all here again, once again. Okay, great. Now, slight change of plans. We're going to do a lesson. We're still going to actually do the topics, but today we've got something interesting to talk about, and that is a convention. Anybody heard about the New York Congress? Yes? No? Okay. Some of you might have, some of you might not have. It's on the website as well. But today we're going to talk about actually a few things together. And the most important thing we're going to talk about today is a Congress. Well, actually a couple of congresses, what a convention is, what we do at a convention and so forth. And from there on, we're going to jump to another topic where we're going to talk about activities together. What does a Kabbalah study group really do? Okay, because all we've really done is study the books and had one meal together, and that was about it. So let's see and talk about today what some of the practical things that Kabbalah students do in order to achieve what they would love to achieve, and that is to reveal this power called the Creator between themselves, in the connection amongst themselves. And the first topic is, because it's on the agenda for all of us, is the New York Congress from the 3rd of May to the 6th of May. Is anyone going to that? Anybody heard about it? Right? Okay, yeah, it's a little difficult to go from Europe and Africa, I guess, because it is on the other side of the Atlantic. However, you'll be glad to hear that there are mirror congresses happening around Europe. And if you would like to go, if you'd like to pop your head in to participate in one of those mirror congresses, you could register, and you'd be more than welcome to participate, meet the guys there, see what's going on, and take part in all the activities that are happening. And that way, what you can really do is find a way and use this opportunity to integrate. Now, the New York Congress is one of the biggest congresses of the year. We have a few big congresses. One is in Russia, another one in Europe, in the US, Israel, and so on. So it's a nice opportunity to actually get to know the crowd, get to know the guys, and like blend in with the crowd, as they say. So it's a good opportunity to do that. So we're first going to talk about that, and then the second thing what we're going to talk about is the general activities which we do all the time, and then how you can actually integrate yourselves into those activities, and think about how you want to integrate yourself into those activities and see how you go. So today we're not going to really have a workshop about it, but we're going to go over it, and we're going to answer any questions that you might have, so that we can actually get on with some of the activities together. And as we're coming to the end of the Education Center course, it's very important for us to start knowing what's going on in the group, so you can feel comfortable and just glide in and flow with everything. All right, so has everybody got their cameras on? I don't see everybody's faces. Okay, so put your cameras on. Let's see those beautiful smiles and get smashing. Now, what is a Kabbalah convention? What is a congress? Has anyone been to a congress before, or a convention? Yes? No? Okay, some of you might have, some of you might not have. A Kabbalah convention is a bit different. It's a bit different, and if you go to one, you'll figure it out why it's so different. But let's talk about why it's so different. First of all, in one place you have a lot of people who've come together, who've gathered together with their dots in the heart, with one common goal. And that common goal is to unite the spiritual aspirations of everyone in order to feel something that our five senses can't really get a grasp of. As you know from the perception of reality lessons, that the whole of reality is just a combination of forces acting upon us and giving us this picture of the world which we live inside ourselves, in our senses, in our five bodily senses. And in fact, we live everything in our minds, inside of us. As the Kabbalah say, there's nothing on the outside except the Creator's influence on us. And a congress and a convention becomes this melting pot for all the dots in the hearts, where you can have this immense energy, this accumulation of sensations that can actually penetrate inside of us and give us a feeling of elevation and give us an idea of what it's really like to be outside of your nature and to seemingly float outside your own self and to absorb and observe the whole of reality from this higher perspective where it's seemingly completely detached from your own bodily self. Does that make sense? It should make sense, actually. Okay, because I'm sure all of you guys have been in love at one time or another. And when you go through these sensations that are very intense, very focused, concentrated, you can have these extraordinary moments where you really feel like you're outside of this reality, where you feel like you've gone outside of yourself. And the Congress is an opportunity to actually feel a sensation, get a sensation of that feeling without actually having a permanent attainment or a foothold in spirituality. Now, why is that so important for us? Well, it's very important because spirituality is a process. It's like a child growing. And just like a child grows, it takes a while for a child to grow and to understand the world, to see what it's like, to feel what it's like. As a baby, it's just the only world it has. It's his or her mum and dad in the house and so on. But as a baby grows, as a child grows, as we become adults, we begin to understand there's a huge world out there. And spirituality is also such a process. As we begin to delve into our spiritual life, as we begin to, walk the path of spiritual development, it's a period, and it's ahead of us. And having these little moments in congresses where you can actually feel a spiritual sensation, although it's not a permanent one, but you're getting a glimpse of it here and there, is actually already giving you the opportunity to get a like a peek through, okay, like you're peeking through the curtain and then pulling yourself back. And those little peaks and these little sensations that we get are very important because they get registered inside of us. And when we register them inside of us, we don't forget them, because when you're walking and you're growing in spirituality, but you're not in permanent spiritual sensations, those little moments that you had in the past start to become fuel, start to become a motivating factor. It tells you that, no, wait, I had this feeling and now I just have to build on top of it. And now you can begin to measure where you want to go, how you want to go. You can begin to look for ways of advancing. So this connection that people come to feel at a congress, especially a big one where we're all really focused and prepared and are really going for it, is a very important phase, a very important stepping stone for an individual to really commit him or herself to the purpose of life. Because life, attaining anything in life is pretty much attaining spirituality as well. Just like we have a target for our career or a target for, getting something done. And spirituality is also a target for attaining something. And along the way, what we always want to feel and see is how we're progressing. And to see spiritual progress, although we will study from the books and we'll get as you join the groups and as we study, you begin to feel those moments of progress. Those spiritual progresses are outside our five senses, and until we really get into the spiritual sense, they're really hard to grasp, they're really unclear, they're blurry, and it's just not clear. So to have a sensation during a weekend where you actually focused and penetrated inside this connection, and where you begin to get those sensations from the environment, is an amazing bonus which you can refer to and say, wait a minute, I did have a sensation before, and let's see how I can build on that. Because when you don't have those sensations, and as time progresses, and because getting spiritual sensations is pretty much impossible without being in spirituality, then that becomes actually kind of a compass pointing you in the right direction. It begins to, become like a beacon, like a light that's at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. So getting together with a group of people who have a burning desire and a really amazing aspiration to attain spirituality, to have this sensation of a soul while living in this world, is an amazing environment that's focused and full of energy. And that energy, that feeling, that sensations are all accumulated inside us, and it takes us from one feeling to another. So this process called a congress is an amazing opportunity to advance very quickly in a short amount of time and go through so many feelings and sensations that normally you wouldn't go through in a year. It's like a little zip file, really. And you can just open it, and then it's boom, presto, a lot of things in one go. So this coming congress in New York, and the mirror congresses that are going to be done around the world for those who can't go there, obviously because of the distance and so on, is very, very important for our spiritual development. And if any of you are interested in going, you should really write to that email address that we said gave you last week. What was that again? Anthony, I think I've got it. Just bear with me. Yes, contact. Okay, contact at cabacademy.eu.
And you also just posted it in the chat, in the Zoom chat, so you can also see it there.
So if you are in Europe and you'd like to attend to a mirror congress near you, write to the guys today. Okay, straight away after the lesson, write to them and let them know. Because I know some people are meeting in Vienna, some people are, I think, meeting in Romania. So there are a few mirror conventions going on. And it's a perfect opportunity to actually get a first-hand experience of what it's like to be inside this group. And believe me, you are going to go through a lot of feelings in a very short amount of time. And the more we go through in our sensations, the more we live, and the more qualitatively and quantitatively we go through emotions, it adds a lot to our development. All right, so that's what I'd like to say about the convention. Now, the convention does also have a web page, and that web page is, what was it, Anthony? one.kabbalah.info. Is it?
Yes, and I'm also going to post that in the chat here for later, so you can get full details about it.
Right. You can also go to this web page and read about it, to find out there's information about it, there's a timetable, the preparation, even the songs are on there. So everything is on there. And so you can get all the information beforehand, before going anywhere. Now, I had my first congress, it was 2002, I think. It was in a place called Kfar Sitrin in Israel, and I used to live in Australia. So I was in Sydney, and the guy said, hey, there's a congress, do you want to pop over? So that's what we did. We jumped on a plane all the way from Sydney, Australia. It took us something like 30 hours to get here. And it was really, it was really interesting. Trust me, you guys have it good now. Okay, you should have seen where we were having a congress at those days. It was a place called Kfar Sitrin, and it was really good. It was very intense. It was a whole week long, and it was like all of us there. It was like going to a boarding school. It was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And because I went to that congress, because I specifically came to that congress, And it was a bunch of us from Australia. I think it was like 6, 7 of us, all from the Australian group there in Sydney. We just jumped on a plane with our backpacks and landed here. It was because of that single Congress that I decided, yep, this is what I need to get done when I'm in this world. So it was a very determining factor for me. And until I moved here in 2006, I've never missed a Congress in Israel. It was twice a year in those days. It was one during Pesach, one during Sukkot. And we were in that little village in Kfar Sitron up in the north until we moved to the convention center. It used to be a week long before, so you guys got it nice and simple now. It's nice, very nice hotels. Very nice hotels. You're staying in nice places. Trust me. In 2002, it wasn't like that. So you got good hotels. You're staying in a nice environment, and so on. Okay, guys, please turn off your mics if you can. That'd be appreciated. Thank you. So it was that determining factor. In fact, the Congress is a determining factor for all of us, whether we want to continue or not, because of the ability to feel what we studied here. And that's amazing, because you all of a sudden, if you read the Rabash articles, we studied them together, right? You begin to live the article inside you, all these things that you're going through, and you're thinking, oh my God, he wrote about everything I'm going through. So on the one hand, you got this ecstatic notion that you're going through the feelings in the book. On the other hand, it's so amazing because you can now correlate everything you studied with the emotions you're going through, and it's no longer something in theory. So that's all I'm going to say about the Congress. You should go onto the website, check it out, get some information. If you feel like you want to go to somewhere close by, send an email to contact@kabacademy.eu. The guys will take care of you, and that's it. All right, now
Also
for Africa,
students.
okay, for the African students and the Middle East students, we also have an email which I did give last time, and that was bbafrica1 @gmail.com. Now, if you are from Africa or the Middle East, you got to write to us to say, listen, I want to participate. Now, in Africa, I'm not sure if we have a Mirror Congress at the moment. Okay, in South Africa, they might have. But Africa, flying from one part of Africa to another is like taking a flight to New York from Europe. So it's a pretty big continent. But what we will do, we will facilitate connection. Okay, so we've got BB Accra, and we've got South Africa doing congresses as well. So, but write to us, we'll give you the details. And once we do that, even if you're in another different part of Africa or Middle East, we'll see how you can connect to the guys by using the same framework we got here in Zoom, okay? So you can actually participate, all right? Somehow we're going to find a way to do it.
But it's not the number one, it's one.
I am so sorry. This is the second time I'm making the same mistake. It's BB Africa 1. Right, sorry about that. My apologies. Okay, bbafrica1@gmail.com.
Write in, we'll fix you up with the closest location, and hopefully we can have a big Merry Congress together.
Okay, so this is before you get into the groups, it's a good opportunity to get to know us. Okay, any questions, any dramas, anything you want to ask about this? All right.
Yes. Can we participate by Zoom in the Congress, from Jose?
Yes, Jose, we'll be able to do that. Now, the timing is a bit of an issue, okay? So those guys are in New York, so they're pretty much about, about 5 hours behind UK, about 7 hours or 8 hours behind us here in the Middle East and Africa time zone here. So between 5 to 8 hours, we've got a time difference with New York. So we're going to have those moments where we connect with them live, and we're going to have those moments where we're offline. Okay, so we're going to do our best to be connected and to stay connected. But first things first, and in fact in Spain we might have some guys. Jose, are you still in Spain? Or Jose is in Spain, right?
Yeah, Jose's in Spain.
Okay, Jose is in Spain. So what you need to do, just write to us, write to the European Union guys, the EU, okay? Write to them, because in Spain we've got a bunch of nice guys. They hook up with the Portuguese guys and they get together and they do all kinds of stuff. So write to us, and I'm sure they'll have some meeting somewhere. All right. So wherever you are in Europe, Africa, Middle East, just write to us according to your location, according to the email address here, and we'll try to help you to hook up with those groups so you can get connected. Okay. Right. If there are any other questions that come up to you, come up and you feel like you need to ask, you want to ask, shoot them through. Now, because we had this little change in our topic today about the Congress, what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue talking about the activities of the groups as well. Okay, so we might as well get to know what we do all the time. A Congress is one thing, so let's start a new page here. So what we do as a Kabbalah study group. Now when we're studying Kabbalah, obviously the purpose of we have to first define our purpose, right? The purpose of the study group is to use the method of Baal HaSulam, in order to perceive the Creator while we're living in this world. Perceive the Creator while we are in this world. We're in this world. Okay, I'm sure you guys all realize by now that after we die, nothing happens. That's the purpose. The way we do that, the methodology, the method comes from Baal HaSulam, but how we relate to ourselves is fully explained by Rabash. So next week is our 9th lesson, and on our 9th lesson we're going to talk about how we relate to each other in the group. Can you actually make a note of that as well? So lesson 9 is how we relate to each other, how we connect to each other, and how we study together in the group. That's lesson 9. Lesson 10 is, as you know, the cocktail party. We're going to have all our friends from around the European groups. They're going to come and meet everyone, and then because you get to see everyone, know everyone, they'll be able to help you. You'll be able to ask questions to those people and integrate yourselves into the group. So today, though, what we're going to go through is what are the activities that we do as a group and how we can integrate ourselves smoothly into the group. Okay? So the method is by Baal HaSulam, explained by Rabash as to how we apply it. This is why reading Rabash's how we apply it. This is why it's very important to read the social writings of Rabash so we can understand how we always need to relate to each other. Now, our social rules, our group structure, and how we relate to each other all come from the principles that are in this book. And because this book is specifically written for a group of students who study Kabbalah and want to get to the purpose of life by applying this method, the principles in this book are pretty much structured. That means non-negotiable, unbendable. Okay? They're principles that we need to understand, that every person who has a dot in the heart and they want to advance with the groups need to take on the principles of Rabash, apply them, and move forward with those principles. So when you enter groups and you discover that we're treating each other in a certain way, our approach is in a certain way, it's very important to understand where all that's coming from. Okay? So this book is going to be our guide, and next week we're going to be talking about it. So in the next 35 minutes, we're going to talk about the importance of of how we can use the group in order to advance together, and what our activities are and how we should be integrated. So let's first write down, let's just make a list, okay? Let's make things simple. You know, like people do things to do, to-do list, okay? So in spirituality, what are our activities? Our activities. Activities. Hope I got that right. Did I not? Awful. Somebody warned me that I'm writing wrong. Okay, activities. There we go. All right. Our activities. Now, the first thing is we need to understand that we've got Kabbalah lessons. Okay? Kabbalah lessons. Now, this is the most important activity for all of us, because if we don't study, where are we going to learn from? Right? So in order for us to advance, in order for us to figure out the states that we're going to go through in our spiritual development, we have to study them before, so that when we are going through the emotion, we don't get confused. All right, so the Kabbalah lessons are very, very important because they shed light. They're like they're constantly lighting. It's like a torch, right? So when you're walking in the dark, you're holding your torch in front of you, so you know where you're going. And Kabbalah lessons are very important, and these are the most important activities that we have, because they provide the light we need to move forward. Okay, the light we need. Like the torch example I gave you. You know, it just enlightens our path as we go along. Now, these are the lessons. In the workshops, in the young group, what did we do? We started workshopping, right? And the first time when we did the workshop, we said, well, what did we say? We said, well, look, ladies and the guys are separate. Right? You guys remember that? And some people, in fact, said, you know, why are we separate? I explained why we study separately. Is there anyone who has a question mark about why we study separately? Because I'm just going to touch on that right now. Are we all good with that? Yes? If you're not good with that, write your question right now. Okay? Write your question. Ask me why men and women study separately. Because this is one hurdle we need to get over for some people. For some people who understand the laws of nature, it's just natural. But we need to clarify a few things. So if it's not clear, let me know. And I see Claire is all waving hands and stuff, so she's got a question coming in, and I will patiently wait and answer all your questions about this topic. This is something we really need to understand and feel how it is.
Claire's ready. She says, I have only read what has been said as homework or things we have read together in the sessions. Excuse me. Do you think that that's a good idea in order to stay on track and get correct understanding? Or do you recommend reading more and not worrying about understanding immediately?
Okay, but this doesn't have anything to do with the division of the groups.
No,
right?
she was over that the last time we discussed it. She asked like 20 questions, I remember.
Okay. So, am I to understand that there is no problem with the separation of the women and men, right? We're all clear with that, yeah? I explained that last time. Yeah? Now let me get back to your question here. Whether you are male or female, man or woman, doesn't matter. We all can listen to the Kabbalah lessons every day. And just like with any wisdom, any science, anything in life, it's impossible to understand everything, as we read on day 1, day 5, day 20, day 30, day 50, day 100 even. In fact, the greatest scientists of all time have usually said at the peak of their scientific career, said, we don't understand much. Okay, this is what most scientists say. And that's actually a correct way of development, because how can you really understand everything without connecting everything together? So I have a lot of respect for those good scientists, because as they progress, they begin to understand, they understand less. Okay. So what we will do though, as we enter the lessons, as we listen to the lessons and as we read and we study, what will happen is we'll begin to go through feelings that we can afterwards, how do they say it? We can afterwards connect to our understanding. In order for us to do that, in order for us to understand life, we need to get to the lessons. Now, who eats here every day and drinks every day? Is there anybody who doesn't eat and drink every day? Is there anyone on a 72-hour fast? No. Okay? We all eat and drink every day, don't we? Why? Because we need to look after our bodies, don't we? Okay? Because the body needs food, water, drink, so on. One thing that we neglect is because of the lack of sensation of our soul, we neglect looking after our soul every day, unfortunately. Why? Because we feel our bodies and we don't feel our soul, and because we don't feel our soul, we feel that, well, we don't have one, so, forget about it. Okay? So we don't really think about it, look after it, and we're just, inside our bodies all day long. We feed it, we look after it, we give it everything it wants, all the comforts, rest, sleep, drinks, whatever, but we neglect our soul. So the Kabbalists say, well, listen, that's not a very smart thing to do, because if you neglect your soul, if you neglect your spiritual development, your understanding of your life starts to diminish. And then you start to go, into this confusion, depression, limited understanding of your life. You don't know what's going on, and so on. This is why we have a lot of, in the world, we have a lot of drug addiction, depression. A lot of the illnesses, in fact, that we have in life is simply because we just don't understand our lives and we don't look after what we really need to look after, and that's our spiritual development. This is why at B'nai Baruch we have Kabbalah lessons every day, 7 days a week. And what you can do is you can listen to these lessons, if you like, live when the lesson is being done, or you can download it and listen to it during the day from our media archive, because all lessons are recorded and all lessons are archived. The lessons are therefore a nutrition for us. Our daily lessons are a way of bringing us back to this connection, back in touch with our inner self. So this is why Kabbalah lessons are very, very important, and they are daily. And you can find these lessons every day at KabbalahMedia.info. If you like, you can watch them live as well. So you can watch live as well. Okay, and when you watch them live, if you choose to, okay, it's not a compulsory for anything. I'm just telling you what we do, so you know what we're doing, and from that knowledge you can think about how to integrate yourself. Okay, so when I'm writing all these things down, I'm not saying this is what we have to do. Okay, this is what we're doing, and I'm explaining why we're doing it, so you can just feel and suss out for yourself how you want to develop. Okay, are we all clear with that? Okay, rule number one in spirituality, there's no pressure. Okay, but just so that you guys know what we're doing. So the live lesson every day is in Israel at 2:45 a.m. and it goes to 5:45 a.m. If you can't make it live, then you can watch it during the day or listen to it from an audio file by downloading it on KabbalahMedia.info. This way you're always in your spiritual development where the group is located. Now we're going to enter the group, right? And you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm just joining the group and these guys have been studying for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. How am I supposed to catch up? Has anyone asked themselves that question? Yes, one person has, 2 people have, a few people have. Well, there's a really easy answer to that. Let's say we're all we're all popping on a bus, okay? But we're popping on the bus, let's say on the 5th bus stop. And then we get onto the bus, and then there are all those people who got on the 1st bus stop, right? But we're all on the same bus now. So whatever happens in that bus happens to all of us, okay? Right? It's like a baby coming to this world. When a baby pops up into this world, he's not worried about the 8 million years of human history that he has to catch up on. Hey, I'm here now, and we're all together now. And that's exactly how it works. So a person might be 5, 10, 15, 20 years ahead of you. It's not ahead of you. We're all on the same bus now. Now, the reason the daily lessons are so important now is that I'm staying on the bus. Because when I'm missing out on the activities, I'm like getting off, and then I have to catch that bus and run after it again. Are you with me, guys? Does it make sense? Okay, this is the whole idea. Okay, so it's very simple, right? So nobody needs to worry whether they're new or what are they going to do with the past 25 years of lessons in the archive. How am I going to go over them? You don't need to. You're born in the group. You're with us on the same boat, and we're all going forward together. All right? And in order for us to be in this frequency, in the same scope of things, we have to somehow connect with the teaching that we're getting daily. This is why the daily lesson is important. So we're all in the same framework. Has anybody heard about the power of thought? Right? Our thoughts are the most powerful weapons in the world. And when we're going through the same material together during the day, during that 24-hour cycle called a day, we're in the same thoughts that we learned in that lesson. And when all our thoughts get together, they connect together, it has a big impact on the world. This is why the power of thought is very important. Our thoughts really give direction to the world. This is why our Kabbalah lessons are very important, because that's the place where we connect with the idea, the concept, and we begin to be in that thought. And the beautiful thing is, in the perception of reality, is where is a person? A person is where his or her thoughts are. So for all we know, you could be living in Timbuktu. But if your thoughts are together with the group, you're actually on the bus. If your thoughts are together with everyone in the concepts that we're studying and trying to attain, you're all on the same bus, because we are one big desire to receive. How are we going to connect? There is only 2 ways to connect with people: in heart and in mind. How am I going to direct my heart and my mind together in sync with everyone? From the lesson. Does that make sense? Am I making sense tonight? I feel like I'm talking in a trance. Yeah, we're all good? Okay, good, because that's the whole idea of a lesson. It synchronizes us. It makes our thoughts desires kind of like match our frequencies together. All right? So that's why this is so important, and this is the most important activity, the most important activity, and it's daily. It's like giving your baby its bottle you can't afford not to give your baby the bottle. Okay, you can't say, hey, today I'm on a diet, why don't you go on a diet too? Okay, because the baby is not going to happen. So our soul is like this little baby which we need to take care of. All right? And if we want to develop it, we need to enrich it with knowledge, with knowing, with thoughts, all kinds of emotions that we can go through, so that we can become this developing being inside this environment called B'nai Baruch. And that's where you will begin to feel personal change, my dear friends. And when you begin to feel personal change, you will discover that the only way to change the world is through changing yourself. And that's all going to happen with the lesson. Okay, enough about the lesson. I think you guys got the gist of it, right? It's the most important thing on the planet. Okay, right then, Rule. Okay, there we go. Any questions about the lesson?
We did have one more, and it came from Claire. She says, in regards to the man and woman thing, she says, the man and woman thing studying separately, I don't get. It seemed to be based in sexuality.
Okay. This is very important to understand. Fair enough. Now, men and women, our bodies are different, right? Our bodies are different because that's nature telling us, listen, your natures are different. And the nature of, everything in life, in fact, animals as well. We look at animals and say it's the animate level, but if we go a little deeper, even with plants, even with matter, if we go a little deeper, we begin to see that actually all of them have their own individual character, their individual nature, their individual way of blending with the reality. And same is true for men and women. We have different natures. Women can give birth, which is an amazing thing. Okay, it's already a sign that they are those who raise the new generation. It's like having this role of bringing to the world this new generation. Men, on the other hand, are more of a dreamer. Men are more like dreamers. This is why they come up with all these, games. If you look at men, what do they do all their lives? They invent football, basketball, volleyball, baseball. They love to run after a ball. It's a waste of life. So a woman's role is more of a stabilizing factor in life. Women are more in sync, actually, with nature than men are. So men have a bit more work to do, actually, if you think about it. And this is why the role of a woman is different, and on the other hand, very, very important in facilitating spirituality and spiritual development. Whereas men have a different personality. They like to run around after everything and waste life on trivial things. So what we have to understand here is that the way that men connect and women connect to life are different. We're just different on that. And what we need to understand also is, just a minute ago when I was talking about the morning lesson, I emphasized the fact that the way we can change ourselves, the way we can change our reality, is based on our focus of desire and thought by connecting. And that connection needs to happen above our corporeal desires, let's say. Okay? Corporeal desires. Kabbalists understand that the way to advance is to focus, to have discipline, to have a strong framework where you don't sidetrack. Because if you're flying from Sydney, let's say, to London, that's, let's say, a straight path is there, okay? If the captain takes one fraction of a degree in the wrong direction, we're going to end up in Iceland. Same in spirituality. So in order to keep the groups focused, attentive, not distracted by corporeal desire, not distracted from corporeal desires, we study separately. We study also separately because our natures are different as well. So men need to focus on the nature they need to change and how they need to work about changing, while women need to work on their nature and how they need to change and get above their own nature and end up here. So this is a process. And we need to start to understand from day one that we're different. And I can't mix apples and bananas and try to come to some kind of a compromise. Okay? They're just different fruits. We're different in nature. So we need to just make sure we're smart about educating ourselves and treat everything and everyone according to their nature. That's all. So it's not about sexism, it's about treating it according to our own nature. All right? I don't know if that makes sense. Women's nature are different to men's nature. Can we agree with that? Yeah? I don't know. Claire, you think we're the same? No, we're different, right? We're different. We're not different? Come on, look at the mirror, look at me, look at you. We're different. Aren't we? In our thoughts, in our perspectives of life as well, we're different. How men rule the world and how a woman, if she was to rule the world, would not be the same. And it's not the same, we can see. How a man feels about his family and how a woman feels about her family are very different. Very different. So our natures are different. And we need to study to facilitate according to that difference. In fact, in the future as well, when you'll see that when we're educating children, we'll all have to figure out the nature of individual children to understand how to educate them on a personal level as well. I mean, forget men and women separately, but educating a child even needs to be at an individual level. We'll come to understand it as we develop in Kabbalah as well. We can't even give two kids the same kind of education because they're not the same. So primarily what we do is we start with this understanding that men's nature and women's nature are different. Just like our bodies are different, our natures are different, the way we look at life is different, and so on. All right? It'll settle down the line. It'll settle down the line. Claire, you got kids? No. Oh, why? No. In time, hopefully, God willing, okay? And then you'll begin to see how their characters are different, how each of them are different, how they see things are different. At the moment, just trust us that this is a good way to go. From personal experience, and with all the new experiences in the students as well, who stick around, over time they begin to understand that this is something necessary because we connect differently as well. Men need to connect and come to this thing called brotherly love. And as you can imagine, if people have, not me obviously, but let's say all of us have, a lot of other genders around, it's very difficult to focus on this connection beyond our corporeal desires. So Kabbalists understand that we're weak creatures, and they say from day one, listen, you can't handle yourself. You might not know it now, but trust us, you'll get to know that you can't handle yourself. So let's just study the way we know how to. And that's how we study. But in time, trust me, you're going to see that this is how it is. In order to For all the guys need to come to this thing called brotherly love. They must learn to go above their own desires, above their own being, to connect with another person without all the jargon and trash of this world and their corporeal existence. And to focus on that could be very hard for a person. So to know in advance already that this might be a problem, the Kabbalists are saying, listen, we already know this is going to be a problem, so we study separately. It's like parents raising their children. You know, they know running around next to a wet swimming pool is dangerous. So they say to the kids, listen, around the swimming pool, you do not run, you walk. Okay? Why? Because they understand they'll fall and break something. So the Kabbalists are giving us the same advice. As we grow up, we begin to understand that, okay, you know, I could fall, and it's a good thing they told me to walk instead of run. That makes sense?
She says, what is dangerous?
Dangerous is that my thoughts are not going to focus on connecting with the guys. That's a problem. Why? Because if you have a lot of pretty women around, okay, it's true. No, don't do this to me. Okay, it's true. I'm a guy who worked on 4 continents. I lived on 4 continents. I've been around this world many times. And trust me, men are the same everywhere. And when they come to Kabbalah, I don't think they're getting spiritual and they've got angel wings on them. We understand human nature. Okay? So we're cautious about it. It's a fact. And we need to make sure we're focused and concentrated. And this is a fact of life. I worked all around the world. It's human nature. And I understand that. It's nothing wrong with it. It's human nature. There's nothing wrong with it. It's human nature. But knowing this nature allows us to, be prepared for it. And this is some kind of a preparation for it. So everybody needs to understand that men need to connect in brotherly love with each other. Once they get into spirituality, relax, they're going to see everyone just like a part of them, and it'll be a different ball game. But until kids grow, we need to make sure they grow properly. Now let's move on to our other activities. Okay, so everybody's okay with the lessons, right? We all very important lessons. Second important thing is, let's do this, in our activities, is like our gatherings. We gather our gatherings together to connect. For example, we have on Sunday with the guys the gathering of friends. Also, the ladies have this on Friday night. Correct me if I'm wrong. Elise, Judith, yeah, ladies have this on Friday nights. So gathering of friends. Okay, so the ladies have it on Friday. The guys have it on Sunday. And then we have conventions, like I mentioned in the beginning of the lesson. Conventions, very, very important for us to connect, get together. And these are also, we have meals together. Okay, you'll see that we eat a lot together on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Every day here there's breakfast, lunch, dinner. So when the guys can come here, they eat together. So getting together, connecting with the guys, connecting with the friends. We all do these things together. Sometimes we have community meals together, and sometimes, guys have their meals, the ladies have their own meals, and so on. And another important thing is helping out humanity. Helping humanity. Now, as you can probably see from the news and everything that's going on around the world, humanity is going through a bit of a rough patch. Okay? And we have these rough patch periods at the moment. So what we do is we like to help humanity in developing consciousness, in developing, let's say, developing consciously. Okay? Developing consciously. So for example, you guys are here at the Education Center, right? So me and Anthony, Shmuel inside in the tech room, Judith over there, and all the other friends who are actually coordinators. There's Godfred, Bright, Dillies. Who else is here with us? Louisa, is she here with us? Because I can't see oh, there you go, there you go. So sometimes Taurus is here with us. And sometimes other friends pop by to help other people out. So helping humanity, helping others basically, is very, very important, because what we want to achieve is to kind of slide out of our skin, renew our skin from receiving into giving, so that we can perceive the whole of reality through the eyes of the Creator. And how are we going to do that if you can't do it practically, right? So what people do is helping humanity, developing consciously, to develop consciously, let's say, to develop consciously. To develop consciously. So for example, you guys are here. Tomorrow night I'll be teaching. Last night I was teaching as well. And what we do is we teach people who want to develop all the time. And that way, actually, by bringing our thoughts and our perspective, our outlook on life to a higher level, is actually influencing everyone. So like 15, 20 years ago when we started studying, there wasn't a lot of people wanting to study the wisdom of Kabbalah. In fact, there wasn't enough people at all. There was just a bunch of people. That was it. It was a handful. Today there are millions. Why is that so? Because a group of people, when they study and they start to help others, they create waves. They create a wave of their own internality to others. And it begins to wake other people up. How do you guys think you guys woke up about the meaning of life? None of us came to you guys, right? You probably found us on the internet, you read a book, you read something, you asked about the meaning of life, you went to Google, you searched for it. Nobody came to you guys. We don't go to people. You search for the meaning of life and you find us. Where does that search, the inspiration, the desire, the thought about the meaning of life come from? Because a group of people are working hard to get to the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is to reveal the Creator amongst us. In order for that to happen, we need to connect. So when a group of people study here, and they do a damn good job, the closest to them start to wake up. That's how the system works. You throw a rock in the water, it'll make waves. Same here. This is how everybody around the world wakes up. And soon they will wake up. You'll see more and more people. They won't come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, but you'll see that they begin to wonder what we're living for. You can already see we're going to go through this new revolution in industry. Capitalism is over, and now we're going through this sharing economy. Where have you ever heard about humans sharing things and building an economy in sharing on a voluntary basis without like forcing them like they did in the Russian Revolution? You see that society voluntarily is turning into a sharing economy. Where do you think they got that idea from? Because they're developing. Why? Because a group of people, when they're wanting to connect, to share, to give, to provide to each other, the whole world is changing. How do we change the world? Well, if a group of guys come together to change themselves, what's going to happen? The world's going to change, isn't it? Does that make sense? Come on, we study the perception of reality, right? How do you change the world? You change the world when you change yourself. So imagine a bunch of people changing themselves in the same direction. How's that going to work? It's going to change everybody on the planet. Okay. Quantum physics tonight. All right. So helping humanity is very important, because then you begin to understand that everybody on the screen is actually a part of me, without any gender differences, because in spirituality you don't see gender. then you begin to see that everybody, Jose, Claire, I don't know, Dilly's, Bright, everyone, you begin to feel that they're actually a part of you. As we advance, you'll see that corporeality is just fading away, and all the changes are happening inside a person. Until we get there, we have to take the advice of Kabbalists, Rabash, and move forward. All right? It's called nullifying myself. If I want to attain the mind of Rabash, how am I going to attain it? I'm going to have to take his advice and apply it. Otherwise, I can't take what he has. Just like kids nullifying themselves to their parents. If I want to know why my parent is telling me to do something, I have to nullify my own desire, and I have to take on my parents' thought the way they want to do it, so I can understand their mind. And if we don't do that, we can't move forward. So this is why the advice of Kabbalists are very important, and next week we're going to touch on it. So I need everyone to be present next week, okay? Because if you want to get into the groups, you want to know how we're supposed to connect, how we're supposed to approach each other, what it means to nullify, what it means to connect, how do we connect, what we do, how we do. All right? And tomorrow and next week also, Claire will touch on the gender differences again and why it's that way, okay? So we'll make it a bit more clearer in the group on how we connect.
One last thing, as we announced last week, if after the end of these lessons we have, 2 more classes left?
Yes.
If you want to join and be able to stick your head in local groups, be assigned to a group, please write to the 2 emails that were provided earlier. For the European students, it's contact@cobbacademy.eu for the European students, and for the African students in Middle East, it's going to be bbafrica1@gmail.com. Please provide your name first and last, your email. You don't really have to do your phone number, but it's best that you do. I know some people feel kind of strange about that, but also, most importantly, the country, so we'll know where to stick you, and make sure that we can communicate between now and then. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Okay, name, email, country, phone. Very important. Okay, otherwise how are they going to get in touch with you? Okie dokie. All right, friends, we're just slightly over time, but next week we'll meet again. Any questions you have about this, just write them down. We'll sort them all out. There's an answer to everything. I've got an answer for everything in life. Okay, so here we go. Love you all, as Dilys is making love signs. So there we go. Take care of yourselves. Next Tuesday we'll meet again. All right, keep safe. All the best. Have a great evening.